against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to save you.
Hello everyone, what is up? I am Rob.
I am Eamon.
And this is Mini Fuzz. What's going on, Eamon?
Not much now.
You're looking kind of like you're
Leon S. Kennedy.
Yeah, I was going to say that, or maybe you were going to get in a Spitfire with your jacket there.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being an aviator.
Yeah.
Just going around rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. It's not as warm here as usual. You're holding out on the heat.
Yeah, maybe we forgot to turn the heat on.
Yeah, it could have been that. It's not cold, but I only have a t-shirt on under this. I didn't have a hoodie, so I'm going to wear this jacket because I feel comfortable. And when you want to get the best out of me, you need to make me comfortable. You know,
I'll turn the heat on at half time for you.
Yeah, I'll be sweating.
Get you all warm and stuff. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're having a good day wherever you may be. I'd like to say thanks to all of our recent subscribers on YouTube and viewers, and indeed all of our patrons. If you want to head on over and support the pod, go over to our Patreon. You get exclusive episodes, you get the ad-free experience, access to our Discord, all of that jazz is over there. We will be adding those things to YouTube as well soon. Quick reminder to everyone, if you want to find us on Instagram, TikTok or Twitter, please check them out, Monster Fuzz Pod. If they've got any spooky experiences, have they seen monsters, or maybe they just want to say hello, where do they write in?
Yeah, if you want to send us an electronic mail, you can do that. That's an option. monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com. We do love to get your emails in, and we do read them out on the Mini Fuzzes. We don't have any this episode, but we will in the future. Yay.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shouts out to our new patrons, Melissa Ardith Gamble.
That's a fairly cool triple barrel name.
It's a cool name. And James C. Big shout out.
Gamble, wasn't he? He was one of the villains in The Dark Knight.
Gamble.
They're like, oh, your friend Gamble over there.
Was he?
I think he was Michael J. White.
All right.
The fellow who was Spawn in the original Spawn movie was the gangster that the Joker kills with the snooker cue.
R.I.P. to the Candyman.
Yeah, that's right. He's gone, but not forgotten.
Was he in Night of the Living Dead remake, or is that?
Yes,
it was him.
He is the family in the basement, I believe. Didn't they do a little weird switch there, where in the original one, the black guy is in the house with the lady?
Yeah,
there's the white family downstairs.
No, I think
you're right. Actually, sorry, it was. Yeah, you're right. I'm getting confused. There was a different fella in the basement.
Yeah. He was like the main guy in the Night of the Living Dead remake. I think
the remake is great. Yeah, Tom Savini.
Don't know how well
it probably didn't hold up that well when I first watched it, because
true.
I think it's from 93.
Yeah, around it.
And when I first bought it, it was 2007.
Yeah.
I remember I got a Chinese. I was by myself in my apartment in Cork that I was living in, and I put it in and I was eating away on my Chinese, and I had bought a Mr. Bungle CD as well, so I just listened to that. I was feeling weird,
as you would.
And I put it in DVD player, and I was just like, whoa, this is like the best ever.
Yeah, I think the first time I seen that I was about 11 or 12, and
you probably saw it on TV3 when it came out. Yeah.
And it frightened the shit out of me.
Yeah, because I remember I was 14 or 15, because I'm like 3-4 years older than you. They had I still remember the voiceovers in the ads. Night of the Living Dead on Television 3.
Yeah.
But in part of the ads, that fat zombie goes off the banister and falls down.
Yeah, spooky stuff. That was
great movie.
Yeah, Candyman was a good one as well.
I watched that relatively recently. So when the new one came out, I think me and Paola watched the original. Yeah. And then watched the remake. The original still stands up. It's very good.
Oh yeah, cool.
I think is it Clive Barker?
Yeah,
Clive Barker. Based on one of his. Yeah.
I think so.
Because at the end, I love that spoilers for a film that's like 30 years old. Grow up. But at the end, where he's like crying in the bathroom, Helen, but he's looking in the mirror, and then she just like, there's a flash of lightning, and she's there all cut up and shit. Like she's like, you're next.
Yeah,
and that's then roll credits. Pretty good ending.
Cool stuff. Right, so we have a dream account actually that was posted on one of the Ghost Stories subreddits here by Reddit user Medical Inevitable 99, which is a good name actually.
Medical Inevitable, and to be fair, he's right. It is, Medical Inevitable. It's inevitable. Yeah. Sooner or later, they're coming for you. Well, even if you die, I suppose you're going to the mortuary. The boys are getting you.
Yeah.
So maybe the best thing to do is to just go off into the wilderness by yourself when your time is near.
Yeah.
Important backstory information. A friend of mine passed away when he was 19 from a sudden illness. Medical inevitable. His name was Kevin. A few years after he passed, my boyfriend and I moved in with a friend who was Kevin's best friend. We shared a 1-bedroom apartment and had both our beds in the same room. Yikes. I'd say there's some weird stuff going on in that place. Rent is expensive in your early 20s. Okay, lol. Yeah.
I'm all good for that now.
Go on now. Yeah. One night I was asleep and dreaming. I can't remember the beginning of it, but my dream suddenly changed. It got really bright and I was walking up a set of stairs leading to an apartment door. I opened the door and there was Kevin sitting on the couch in the living room of his brightly lit apartment. I said hi to him and sat down on the other couch facing him. He said hi back, smiling. I started asking him how he was and that we all miss him. He said he was great and that he missed us too, that he's keeping an eye on us from where he is. Anytime I asked about him where he was, he would say he can't talk about it or he'd have to leave. I said we don't have to talk about it. He said we shouldn't be sad about his sudden passing and to live our lives and be happy, love one another, things like that. After a couple of minutes, I suddenly woke up. It's the middle of the night. I looked around the room. My boyfriend was snoring away and my roommate was asleep in his bed. I tried to get back to sleep but couldn't shake the feeling that Kevin was somehow still in the room, as if something was watching me. The dream just felt way too real. While looking around the room, I said, "Kevin?" out loud in almost a whisper. My roommate's head lifted off of his pillow suddenly and he turned around to face me. He said, "Did you just say Kevin?" I responded with something like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I just had a strange dream about him." He froze and then he said, "I just had a dream about him too." I asked him what had happened in his dream and we had had the exact same dream at the exact same time. Very interesting.
Do you think it's possible? Yeah. Do you think that's to be believed?
Yes, there are two friends of mine. You know them. I won't give their name. Doesn't matter if I do or I don't, but whatever. They had a dream that one of our neighbours was evil and they would profess to this day that they had the same dream at the same night. Now, that neighbour was lovely. Maybe when they pass away, they'll find a lot of babies buried in the backyard or something. But they had a dream they say they both had the dream at the same time, that like she had these red eyes and she was going around the back garden like Pinhead or something. And
they were in different houses dreaming this?
They would have been in different houses, yeah. Yeah, down the bottom of Parkview.
That's weird, like.
It's strange. Now again, they would have been 8 or 9 when they had the dream, so it's entirely possible that someone says something and then someone else, you're telling tall tales, but then the tall tale becomes reality as you get older, which is possible. But it was an interesting one, yeah. They would both say that they had this dream.
Yeah, shared dreams. If anyone has any, write in, let us know. Like, like, what does that even imply? It kind of implies, I suppose, some kind of shared universe. Yeah, well, there are. Like, that's what I'd be thinking.
I've been listening to some of the Mysterious Universe podcasts recently. The podcast's going like nearly 18 years. Yeah. But they had stuff about dreams, and there was a guy talking about how he would see a face in his dreams, and he became really good at like lucid dreaming, to gain control. But he said it was almost like there was another entity that would come into his dream, and like he knew that somehow it wasn't part of the dream. So you do wonder if there's some sort of, now I'm not saying that was, so he felt that, so it must be true, but I do wonder, is there some sort of weird dimensional plane that the dreams you can access from or something like that?
Well, to me, as soon as people are sharing dreams, then that would kind of point to some kind of shared reality, which is mad to think even about.
You think, because like there's an aunt of mine, and when her father died, my granddad, my uncle, so the way it takes ages to get a tombstone, so usually people will put like a little wooden cross or something,
placeholder type of thing.
And my uncle-in-law, her husband, he's quite good like at stuff like that, so he made kind of a temporary tombstone, if you like, out of wood, and she had a dream that her dad had come back and was just saying like, saying I'm all good, everything's good, and just say thanks very much to John for doing that for me. And you could, like, it's entirely possible that that's just your brain dealing with something that's relatively traumatic that's happened. Or you could say maybe there's some sort of weird space where a communication can come through.
Very spooky.
Yeah.
Very spooky, but not as spooky as 40 monkeys that have escaped from a research facility.
What could be as spooky as that?
Imagine this now, right? So 40 monkeys have escaped from a research facility in South Carolina. So if any of our listeners are in South Carolina, mind yourselves. There's thermal imaging cameras and traps which have been deployed all around the place to actually try and find these animals and capture them. They broke free from the research facility, which is called the Alpha Genesis site in Yamasi on Wednesday night.
That sounds like something from a Resident Evil game.
Sounds like the start of a PS1 horror game.
Yeah, for sure.
It's literally like the monkeys escaped from
Alpha Genesis.
Alpha Genesis.
What?
You're
gotta get down to Alpha
them.
Genesis, Razor. Get rid of the monkeys.
Residents are strongly advised to keep doors and windows secure to prevent these animals from getting into houses. Actually, the scary thing about that is, like, we've talked about fucking rabies on the pod. Like, what if some of them get rabies?
What type of monkeys are these?
Capuchin.
Okay.
And macaques.
Okay, so they're not going to be able to tear your face off. So that's
a rabid capuchin or a macaque. Like, if they get the jump on, the jump on you,
they don't have the same strength as like a chimp where they'll just tear you apart.
You beat one in a fight, but
yeah,
chances are if you didn't see it first,
the macaque will be coming at you like that with the arms in the sky.
It's going to be getting bites on you.
It's definitely, you're not coming out of it unscathed. Much like a PS1 horror game, you're taking a few hits and you'll need a med kit afterwards.
Yeah, so locals in Yamasi, which is about 50 miles west of Charleston, have been told not to approach these monkeys and immediately call 911 if they spot them. Alpha Genesis says it provides non-human primate products and bioresearch services. Sounds like a Joe Rogan ad or something.
Is this the start of 28 Days
Later? Yeah.
Like, that's what happened, right? Rage, and the monkeys bit the people, and then there were zombies.
More than 100 acres of quarantine, breeding, holding and research spaces at this facility. And yeah, they conduct clinical trials, which include brain disease treatments, and that they provide the highest standard of care for all animals, I'm sure. The breed that escaped haven't been revealed, but yeah, the farms do have macaques and capuchins.
Yeah, they're generally the ones that you don't do experiments on chimps, I don't think.
Shit that we have to do experiments on any of them, but...
It is, but I suppose
that's a necessary evil. Is it? Probably.
Is it still? It's a good question.
Probably. But then again, now, it could be, because I read only yesterday a case in somewhere in Europe where basically there was a scientist, she's a doctor, and she had breast cancer, and she had a mastectomy, and they got rid of it, and she had her treatment and all that, and then it came back a couple of years later.
Yeah.
So she was like in the same site. So she was like, right, I've got the medicine for you. She came up with her own treatment, which was some kind of virus. And she injected the virus into the cancer, and the virus killed the cancer. It sounds like science fiction, but it's true. It happened.
No, because I mean, when you think about it, your other option is to radiate the shit out of it until you kill it. Yeah.
And it killed it, and she's still in remission. So, but it's non-approved. So the treatment that she did is like renegade rogue shit, and it's not approved. And like, apparently, like, it's kind of this split in the medical communities where it's like, you know, some of them are like, well, fuck, this is really cool, like, obviously what's happened, but then other people are like, you can't kind of advocate for that, because next thing you know, like, people with cancer will be flying down to fucking Bolivia or something to get like fucking injected with like Mexico or whatever, spider blood or something. Do you know what I mean?
That's it, yeah. And then I'm sure there's a lot of potential pitfalls of injecting yourself with a virus that could just spread to the other parts of your body. Or
cool.
It's
though.
A funny one, yeah. No, it's a great. It's a mad thing how you can, you know, the whole talk about balance and the variables that exist within it in order to get yourself, what is it, homeostasis, where the body tries to equalize itself.
If Jean is listening to this, I know she'll be lapping it up, actually, that this conversation, she's a scientist, so she'll
probably be sort of lapping around the room angry about how we approach science, because we're so dumb.
It's very interesting stuff.
It's what is funny is that it is a fair point. Like, if you think about the amount of rats and mice that are probably killed in the name of science, it's a funny thing, right? So say even with veganism, and this isn't to take a shot at it at all.
Here he goes.
No, not at all. What I mean is that there's no way of eating food in the present day that doesn't involve the killing of some sort of animals. Ground nesting birds, shrews, insects, all the rest of that. So it's almost like we value bigger animals. We value mammalian big animals more than we would value smaller animals, even if they are mammals. Which
Perhaps.
is kind of and again, no, I'm not saying that with a judgment. It's just funny, and it kind of makes sense.
I don't know whether we value them more or less. What I would argue is, like, if a cow was the size of a cricket, I don't think we'd care. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's just...
You could make the argument that we don't care enough about cows given how big they are.
It's because we can prevent the deaths of the bigger ones. So the other ones are not really, truly
I think
preventable.
the other side of it is we can relate to a mammal.
That's
we
true.
can't
Too.
relate
Well, you
to
can
like
definitely relate to a cow.
Long lashes.
Oh, you're into cows.
Totally udderless existence. But it is a funny thing just to think about it, because you do sit down and it, like, my wife would be very much, she wants to protect the animals.
Yeah.
She's very
compassionate.
have the animals at heart. Yeah, not like me. I'm like,
an asshole.
eat the animals, devour them, leave them. Don't even eat the whole burger. Just throw it away. The animal died for nothing. No, but it is one of those things. I think we're in a culture. We're from a very agricultural based culture.
Oh, fuck.
So it's very, not that it's like rare or whatever, but people here, like, culturally eating meat is just very normal for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, the whole island is basically a glorified farm, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny as well. But one thing that does strike me about Ireland is that if you go to Europe, especially obviously coastal Europe, you always have a lot of fish, a lot of fresh fish, very like Portugal, places like that. Huge amount of that. Whereas in Ireland, it doesn't seem. Now I know we have to go a bit further out, I suppose, to get the fish, but we don't have the same level of kind of fishmongery here, or the same access to eating fish at restaurants.
Should I blame the Brits again at some point? There's probably
we can blame the
them.
EU as well, I suppose, if we want to.
It's probably due to I'm fairly sure back when we were under English rule, British rule, we couldn't fish.
We weren't allowed to fish.
Yeah. So
no trout for you dirty Mick.
That was, I think. Now I might be wrong, but you've got hundreds and hundreds of years of that. Yeah. Then that
how would they even catch it? How shitty are the Brits? Like, you could be living on the coast and you have an old fishing rod and you're hoping to get an old mackerel. And if he catches you,
salmon was a pleb food.
Only
up until maybe a couple of hundred years ago. Like, salmon was the common fish. It was like super common. Nowadays Nowadays it's hard to actually get fresh, wild fucking caught salmon. Most of the salmon you buy in the supermarket is
all farmed,
and it's toxic as fuck for you.
Yeah. Have you ever seen when they're farming the fish?
Well, it's wrong.
The state of some of the fish in the nets.
You'd be better off catching fish out with a fish tank up in Pet Mania.
Not eating for a while.
You're going in Pet Mania and catch a few goldfish to be better quality than them salmons.
One of them, the angelfish. Yeah. Are they very poisonous?
Probably.
Yeah, I'd eat one.
Yeah. Calling it an angelfish, it's too good to be true, you know what I mean? There's something evil about it, probably.
Yeah, devilfish.
So anyway, long story short, watch out for the monkeys. Hey, we're the monkeys.
People say we monkey around.
We like biting around. We might have rabies. I don't know.
It'd be cool if this was the start of it. It just slowly spreads from South Carolina.
Yeah.
Takes over the northern hemisphere.
It'd be cool for us, like, because the poor old Americans would have to be dealing with that, and we'd be watching on the news having to crack. Do you know?
Yeah, as long as we maintain, I think we're gonna have to we're gonna have to maintain a stronger border as soon as we see the zombie holocaust.
So we'll be able to watch it all play out. Like, the poor lads will be over there fucking machine guns in the streets.
How do you think it would get here? It would get here. It always gets everywhere.
It'd be some dickhead on a Ryanair flight or something, like, or someone on a flight. No, it would be the same shenanigans that were going on in COVID. But
do you think that we would be way too lackadaisical in terms of actually securing the border and being like, no?
It'd be too late. Like, it'd be over before it even started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be
where would, because we were getting the dart from Dublin to Greystones, right, to get the car home. And do you ever have this feeling? You don't get it too often, but when everyone's crammed into the same place, but it's in an outside environment, and you kind of, the first thought is like a zombie movie where you're like, oh yeah, this is like the Horde. Like, if they were zombies, we'd be totally gone.
Yeah. Japan a lot.
Oh man,
a lot in Japan. I
do. It was something we used to do a lot more when we were younger, but just coming up with the idea of how you would escape the zombie invasion.
I still think I've got a pretty down pat. Like, I mean, it's, there's a few obstacles, like, but I think I would try and get out. We have a quayside here. Well, Wexford Quay is an option. I'm very close to that. The other option...
See, the tricky part is you're close to it, but in terms of where the
population
zombies
density.
are...
I would... My whole thing was always to drive out to Kilmore Quay, get a trawler or some kind of boat and get out to the Salty
Islands.
Yeah, try and live out there. You'd probably live on... You'd live on what's out there for long enough.
Battered birds.
Rabbits, a lot of rabbits out there.
Anything, then they
rats,
get myxomatosis.
Rabbits, rats, seagulls, which probably taste like fucking shite.
To be honest with you, if I'm eating rats and seagulls to survive, I'm just throwing myself off the edge of the salt island and just be done with it.
Fish out there as well, to be fair.
That's true. The fish would be pretty cool, and you could probably get a seal. I'd feel bad eating a seal.
There'd be no end in a seal though.
Yeah, but you need fats. Like at that point, it does. You don't care about taste no more. No. You're just trying to eat the stuff to keep you going.
Seal clubbing, just running down and hitting him over the head with a bit of driftwood.
Pretty horrible. Pretty horrible. What have I become? Yeah. I am like the end of every zombie movie. We're the real monsters.
Trash. I think that would be where I go. What would you do?
I think you're bang on about getting some sort of flotation device
and get out.
And get out. I think it's getting... So when I lived with my parents, the idea would have been to try and get down to the boat club because we were close enough to there. And you're probably not going to have as many people. No. So you'd be getting into that forest and you'd have a good bit of space. You'd be able to get yourself up. Yeah, train tracks, whatever you need. Train could be destroyed. You get up on top of the train, right laugh. Right crack.
Get machine guns and all that.
Yeah. So I think that would have been the first idea. But now that I don't live near the coast...
you don't?
See, this thing, we have
out the back road onto the main road, boom.
But even getting out of the street could be tricky. We're in tough parts of the street, you know. Yeah, me too. And I'd tell you, the fella across the road from me, imagine him as a zombie. The one thing is, I'd say there's plenty of looting in that car. You know,
a lot of loot, you find a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
So that's the zombie apocalypse. How would Ollie survive? Actually, if anyone has any kind of clever zombie apocalypse things, write in because that'd be fun to talk about. If anyone has any ways that they think they have it sorted. Eamon, we've talked about the Tasmanian tiger before. People like when we talk about the Tasmanian tiger, it seems. So apparently there's a breakthrough where they might be able to bring it back from extinction, if you want to let us know about that.
So scientists claim to have made progress towards de-extinction. That's also how a zombie holocaust starts. And estimate their DNA sequence for the thylacine or Tasmanian tiger is 99.9% accurate. With a 0.1% margin of error. The Tasmanian tiger, a wolf-like marsupial that once stalked the forests of Tasmania. They're making it sound more like hard than it is there, aren't they?
They are a wolf. It's not as cute. It's kind of cute with a weird mouth.
More of a small dog.
It is.
It could be brought back from extinction after a team of US and Australian researchers claimed a series of scientific breakthroughs. Also known as the thylacine, the Labrador-sized beast was Australia's last marsupial apex predator.
And there's not very many marsupials in general.
Just in general, Crash Bandicoot.
Sonic's an echidna, so he's not one.
I thought he was a hedgehog.
No, he's an echidna.
Why do they call him
hedgehog? We've been through this before.
Probably. It sounds like something we would argue about.
Knuckles is an echidna, isn't he?
And Sonic is a hedgehog.
I think so.
Knuckles the echidna.
Yeah. Or echidna is a type of hedgehog.
Tails is a fox.
I thought, this is going to annoy me.
Tails is a fox with two tails.
I think maybe an echidna is a type of hedgehog, but I might be wrong.
Dr. Robotnik is a man.
He is. Shadow the Hedgehog is kind of cool.
Shadow the Hedgehog is cool. They released a new Sonic game recently that people are saying is good. Sonic is it's hard to make a Sonic game that be good.
I'm just surprised people still play Sonic games. I'm not even trying to be funny when I say that. It's it's strange to me that he's still a franchise. I'm like, there's no Spyro
he's still there's
no real Crash. But
yeah, that's true.
Sonic is still keeping it lit. I'm like, how? Who's...
I'd say it's just you hear Sonic and just go, I'll play that.
A little bit, yeah.
I thought Sonic Frontiers looked class.
Yeah.
And then I played the demo and it seems like a pretty good game, but when you play any Mario game, the level of just playability.
Yeah, Mario's class.
You wonder to yourself how Sonic ever got on the same page as Mario.
Oh, yeah.
Because even back in the 90s, it
always
was
felt
good
to me.
Yeah, but compared to Nintendo, Super Mario 3, it's
Nintendo was always smooth and tight, and then Sonic kind of felt a bit jank. You're like,
there's no reason to go that fast. That was the thing for me is you didn't really know what was happening. Then you just hit a fella, and now all your rings are all over the place. But sure, I didn't even do nothing.
Yeah. No, it was Sonic was always a strange one to me, where I was like, I don't know
When he went Super
why.
Saiyan, though, I remember the start of Sonic 2 where he went gold.
Oh, yeah.
At the start, I was like, that's fucking class. That was way cooler than the shitty plumber.
I don't know, like, my cousin had a Sega, I had a SNES, and to be honest with you, I never felt like I was missing out. A little bit with Golden Axe now, so I used to love kicking the shit out of them little imp fuckers that robbed me potions.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, I used to love that.
Yeah,
But
Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2 especially.
Streets of Rage was class.
Yeah.
That and
Shinobi,
Golden Axe.
actually. I was
Sonic, not so much. I was like, whatever about that. But Golden Axe and Shinobi, not even Shinobi, Golden Axe and, Streets of Rage.
I don't really understand. There's some people who really, really love Sega, and it's something I've never really understood. How you could love Sega instead of Nintendo. I've never really, like, I get it, it's a childhood thing. The games just aren't as good on the
It's like
Mega
an
Drive.
Abusive relationship. They're settling for it, like, do you know what I mean?
Like when they talk
It's
about,
like,
I love the Sega, I love the Sega sound chip. I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
It just sounds like muck.
No, there was a couple. Look, Sega Mega Drive.
There was some great
Master
Mega Drive
System,
games.
all that shit. Like,
Saturn.
Yeah, it's gone down.
As you drop the ball
Dreamcast
there.
is good though. Like I want
Dreamcast, yeah, I have one of those.
one. You do. It plays for 5 minutes.
Plays for 5 minutes, then it shuts
Turns
it down.
off.
It's great. It's like being in hell. You just constantly play the first 5 minutes of the same game.
Like one sure title scenes.
So, its recent demise makes it an ideal candidate for de-extinction, according to Colossal Biosciences. I thought your man's name was Colossal. I was like, what the fuck? So they're a Dallas-based company behind the effort. I assume that all this stuff is going to link in with the woolly mammoth.
It's a different crowd, like
but I imagine like they're all going to
Hopefully.
start going down this way. Colossal has previously announced plans to use the latest advances in gene editing and reproductive biology to bring, there we go, woolly mammoths and even the dodo back from the dead.
Yeah.
You will no longer be as dead as a dodo. You will be as dead as something else. The thylacine samples used for our new reference genome are among the best preserved ancient specimens my team has worked with, according to Beth Shapiro.
Oh, watch out!
Totally different person.
Watch out!
And we're actually bringing. We can't. My Jewish God won't allow me to bring back the
What if
beasts.
the thylacines come back trans?
He would not like
No,
that. At all. He'd fucking
Trans
hate that.
thylacines fucking up everything
Yeah.
from Beth Shapiro.
Facts don't care about your feelings. He'd be like, Ben, calm it down.
He would actually, you know what? He'd actually hate Jurassic Park because remember they're kind of gender neutral in Jurassic Park. They
that's
start
right.
turning sex.
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. Jurassic Park, once again, way ahead of its time, making big trans dinosaurs way before we got into it. 1993, they're like, sure, the T-Rex just identifies as...
Sure.
Just
1993
takes it
there
as
was
it
no
comes, man.
trans.
Bifluid T-Rex.
Yeah.
There was T-Rex.
Pansexual T-Rex.
Pansexual T-Rex. Someone they're autosexual.
What's that?
They're just making
You
shit
ride
up.
cars
That's,
or something.
that's probably, there'd be a different word for that, like semi-auto. Apparently autosexual is you feel sexual when you feel sexual yourself. Like, I was reading, I was like, what the fuck? It was like,
But that's
like
just-
if you put on lingerie and then like you're feeling sexy, so like
get
you're
sexy.
autosexual. I was like,
You automatically get sexual or something.
it doesn't, none of them, no, it's like, I think they're trying to say, sure, sometimes you do have a wank without saying that, but then it's not that. None of it makes sense. Why can't people just be like, whatever turns me on, let's all be sound. I can't be remembering what all these things mean.
You don't have to. Because luckily for you, you're in a monogamous marriage.
What if she's like,
If she turns around to you and
Emma,
says,
I am the autosexual
then you're in
now.
trouble.
I'd be like, do we need to get a manual drive or what's going on? Like,
then you're in
do you
literal
know what I mean?
trouble.
And then I'm shamed for not keeping up with the parlance of our time insofar as sexual conduct goes.
No,
Do you know? And you'd be just red faced, not knowing what an autosexual.
It's cool though,
was.
because we're kind of. It's funny because we're like maturing into like not knowing stuff now, which is
Yeah,
great.
it's pretty good. It
I
is
actually
pretty
enjoy that though. I
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
being like.
I kind of
ignorant.
like hearing it and then being shocked. by it.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah, it's class.
autosexual. It's
Yeah,
kind of
class.
fun. Yeah.
I do enjoy this.
Yeah,
thing.
I am enjoying it. Right. Anyway, that's Beth Shapiro, not to be confused with Ben Shapiro, who is himself an autosexual. It's rare to have a sample that allows you to push the envelope in ancient DNA methods to such an extent, Beth Shapiro said. There's a 108-year-old specimen preserved in alcohol at a museum in Melbourne. And it has allowed the team to extract a thylacine DNA sequence that they claim is 99.9% the same as the original, with the other 0.1% being Jameson.
So this is for our listeners that are maybe wondering, like, does this mean anything to do with Jurassic Park? And in a sense, it kind of does, but the only reason they're able to get this accurate of a sequence from this DNA is because it was preserved so well. And the last thylacines were preserved with that in mind.
The early 20th century.
Yeah. So there, I think there's some estimates. Yeah, I think the last one in captivity is probably here. It was in like early, like I think it was like 1920s
30 or something.
1920s or 30s.
And then some people say they could have been out in the wild.
Longer
years later.
And so
it's possible that they still are.
Yeah. With the dinosaurs, then the problem is that we don't have that kind of really good tissue sample. They do have like probably more parts of dinosaurs than you think. There's a lot that would surprise you.
Yeah, because they said a lot of the skeletons are based on estimations of what they actually are. Yeah,
and so it's just not very likely that they could ever sequence 99.9% of the dinosaur
But we might
genome.
be able to make something similar in the image at some point.
Approximate it for sure.
Yeah.
But it would never truly be it because its habitat isn't there, its environment, like its prey, its
I believe it was
the weather,
Jurassic Park, whatever the new reboot was, where he says, we know they don't look like the actual dinosaurs. We like market them so that they look like the dinosaur you want them to look like. Yeah, which I think we should start doing sooner than later. Yeah,
I think that was even in the original book too. Like I think
Michael Crichton,
I think that was mentioned in the book, and it was just something that was kind of half omitted from the old movie. But look, it's just so people know. Basically, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh wow, we might have dinosaurs if they keep doing this. Not as likely, unfortunately.
But hopefully we will have approximations.
Yeah.
Which I'd
be down with.
I'd be down with that. They're even able to extract more fragile RNA molecules from the sample. This allowed the team to see which of the thylacines genes were being expressed in certain tissues. With this new resource in hand, we will be able to determine what a thylacine could taste, what it could smell, what kind of vision it had, and even how its brain functioned. That's Professor Andrew Pask from the University of Melbourne. He's collaborating on the project. Having the thylacines genes is only one step forwards in terms of resurrecting it. Colossal's approach uses gene editing techniques to change the genome of the thylacine's closest living relative, a hamster-sized marsupial called the fat-tailed dunnart.
Shouts out.
Yeah. To create a creature as close to the thylacine as possible. They claim to have made more than 300 thylacine-derived genetic edits to dunnart cells grown in the lab, as well as learning how to induce ovulation in the tiny marsupial and grow its embryos outside of its womb, similar to techniques used in human IVF.
Now?
Okay, so like, do you know the way we're trying to do that? That is basically an evolution of the cloning that we did of Dolly, right?
Yeah.
Now we're not doing the exact same genes, we're fiddling around with them a bit and creating something new, right?
That's probably, I would imagine all that gene editing stuff is probably going to be one of those kind of things that becomes ubiquitous at some point in time.
They're talking about that CRISPR stuff where you could see the genes of your child and like eliminate some
bad genes
which again I think we probably are headed down that direction. It is kind of a eugenics type thing
for sure.
It's
it's eugenics, but it's like
if you're also trying to give some, it's like you send them to a good school.
If everyone can avail of it and it like it sort of it's good in the long term for everyone, then I don't think anyone would ever have any problem with it.
I think it'll be one of those things where like everything that's really good, the ultra rich can afford it initially, and then it kind of trickles down to the rest of us. Because I think they're even talking about Ozempic and drugs like that at the moment. First of all, kind of saying, look, there's lads with type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes that need this, and there's a shortage because of how it burns through your fat or whatever. Well, it doesn't even burn through your fat, it just stops you eating. But they were saying as well, at the moment, I think it's something like 250 quid a week. So like, obviously that would price a load of people out of it. Whereas probably similar to genetic medications you can get now, when they first come on the market, they're quite expensive. And then over time, the patent goes and you can kind of get them a lot cheaper. But it does mean we're probably a decade behind the ultra wealthy for
probably
big bellies.
It's a shame because Ozempic seems to work quite well too.
It works.
But I think you're on it for life, I think.
Well, not really. Like, if you give it up, you'll likely go back to eating badly again. But the other part as well is like, if it's something that doesn't have much side effects, and it doesn't seem to. I listened to a really good talk with what's his name, Johan Hari, I think,
Right.
and he's done a book on it, and he has some interesting stuff. But none, like, one is like muscle loss, but like if you don't eat, you'll lose muscle anyway. I don't know if Ozempic makes the muscle go any quicker.
Oh, okay.
But it would be one of those things where, like, if you lose weight rapidly, you will lose strength. And that's, you know, but ultimately, if you're someone who's really struggling with weight issues and it's causing a lot of issues in your long-term health, it's a great thing because you just won't be as hungry and you won't eat as much. There's some maybe risks they say about, you know, anhedonia and pleasure and depression.
Sure, we all have anhedonia. Thyroid.
I don't know how you'd live without it.
Your thyroid is supposed to get a bit mucked up on it, I think. Is one of
It could do, yeah. Like,
but again, it's kind of jury is out kind of thing. It's one of these new medications where everyone's taking it and like they're trying to find new data and stuff like that, you know.
As well as, like, I suppose the one thing about being priced out of the market is that you won't be one of the first people to find out how bad the side effects of something are, the long term. Seems like there's not any, but again, you're not going to know because it hasn't been in circulation long enough.
Absolutely.
Although diabetics have been on this medication for decades.
Diabetes.
They
have indeed.
Please, diabetes, help me lose weight.
So we have a Bigfoot sighting.
Woo!
These Bigfoot sightings now might they might actually become like kind of a regular thing now.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah, the site that we were talking about last week, and indeed the site that we're taking this sighting from, is brfo.net. This is again another one from 2024. It's actually from quite recently. It's from October 13th in Washington. Clallam County, shouts out. The location details, if anyone wants to check it out, it was spotted between MP 182 and MP and 183 on HWY 101 heading north.
It's a highway.
Yeah.
What's MP?
Motor
pointer.
Something. Past the guy who sells all the chainsaw carvings, but before the construction stoplight.
Class.
The incident took place on that right-hand side when you're driving north.
That's a real Irish direction.
Yeah.
Past the lad who sells the chainsaw carvings, but before the construction spotlight. I like that. I really like
absolutely. That. So the nearest town is Forks. So if anyone knows that, then you know the crack.
Do write in, yeah. I'd be curious just to hear a little bit about this town, if you live there or somewhere like it, or you know about it.
So what he observed was that he goes on to say that we were driving through a construction area on Highway 101, and as we rounded a part of the highway, we seen a Sasquatch about 9 or 10 feet tall, at least 3 feet wide at the shoulders. It was walking into the bushes and trees. The movement was sudden and erratic, like it was hurrying, but it pushed the alder trees to the side, and within a few steps, we stopped, seeing the brush moving, and it disappeared immediately. Its fur was black like bear's, but it moved on 2 legs in a flash. Everything in total was about 5 seconds. There was 2 witnesses, one driving and one was a passenger. We were both looking at the side, talking about the roadworks, and we both stopped talking the same time and just observed. Both of us took a moment to talk and then confirmed what we had seen. So it was a clear day. Lighting was pretty good, actually. It was early evening, which is when some of those sightings do come up. But interesting. What you think came into that sighting?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I do like this site. I do like these little
Bigfoot
small
sightings.
Vignettes from the site. Yeah, pretty cool. The Bigfoot thing is funny because again, I'm always curious. Like, obviously, being a metaphysical Bigfoot head, which isn't just metaphysical Bigfoot, it's every weird other thing that pops out. But it would be kind of a mad thing if the real Bigfoot exists, and then there's also these sort of like, what would you say? They're almost like holograms, or they take on their DLC for special characters that pop up in spooky places.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, all I could offer from that story is, like he says, it was like a black bear. It sounds like it was taller. Could be a black bear on 2 feet, but like,
I would imagine a huge amount of Bigfoot sightings are just misidentified bears. Especially when you think, like, if you ever gone out to a forest, and you just look through it, like even if you go up to the quarry, you know, those little forested areas that are just off the track. If you go in those and as you're walking by, you just look around, it would be difficult, unless something was like real close to you,
to make it out
so
properly.
difficult to misidentify something.
Well, anything that lives in the woods generally
is pretty good at hiding.
Evolved to be camouflaged in the woods.
Sure.
You know, so it's like how at a glance you look at a tiger and you think like orange and black stripes, that like how's that camo? But then you see it in its natural habitat and you're like, oh, that is really good camo for where they're at. Like so yeah, I mean potentially look, if it was I just like I don't think there can be a Bigfoot out there, but there might be.
It's a funny thing because if you look at gorillas going around the place, like I saw a funny little video, just 2 gorillas in like it was a zoo, but it was like they had a good bit of space and all the rest of it, maybe a wildlife reserve. And one of them's off eating something and the other one's going around. And the whole thing of it was like one of the gorillas jumps up over a little riser and does a 360 twirl for no reason and then just walks off. And it was just funny to see that. But then obviously everything we see, you probably have the stupid monster fuzz stuff in the back of your head. I mean, I do wonder, is it possible that there's some gorillas that live out in the forest? Because a gorilla, in terms of what they eat, they need a lot of calories, but they're wired in a way so they're always eating bamboo and leaves and stuff. So like they don't need
their footprint.
Yeah, they don't need heavier.
All like.
So you do wonder, is it possible that a few gorillas have escaped from various different places because of all the lads that have like exotic pets, and there's just gorillas in
America?
In certain places, like
it'd be tough, yeah. Like I mean, they are very remote creatures anyway. Like I mean, I think where they be in Africa, it's quite difficult to get to them and stuff like that. They're like isolationists themselves. They're like, you know, they're about 9 feet tall. They generally stand like they can obviously go onto the ground, but they stand on 2 feet. Some of the stuff that you hear about, I don't think they're that tall.
I think they're pretty tall.
I don't know. I think
like 7-8 feet.
I don't think so.
No.
I might be wrong now. Google it just out of curiosity because we're going to figure out now whether it's gorillas upright. Like just pull upright. I would say probably about 6 foot. Actually, I might be wrong. Jesus. Yeah, I reckon we might break up a gorilla.
We could look down on.
I'd say yeah. I think because gorillas like now I might be grossly underestimating that, but I feel like they're probably about 6.5 foot up under.
You're right, yeah. They say stand on 2 legs are about 6 feet, according to this.
Jesus Christ! Imagine having a co-host as intelligent as I.
It's
phenomenal. Imagine that. It's lovely. It's like having Steve Irwin in the room with you.
We may as well have Steve Irwin in the room. Can reach a height of 6 feet when standing on 2 legs. All right, that kind of.
That's not. No, it doesn't. It doesn't really rule it out. It the point of is there something like a primate like out there mucking around? Possibly. It's possible, like of course it is. Any of them is. It's
more possible than an actual Bigfoot. Yeah. If you think about what we know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
No, you're right.
That's what it is.
That's a good way of looking at it. And the other thing is, it would be quite hard for like a breeding population to get out there. That's the only thing that you could say about it. But what I will say, a lot of people, people that deny Bigfoot, and look, I'm not mad at them. You can deny him all you want. It makes sense to deny Bigfoot. They would say that there's a total lack of evidence in the fossil record, etc., etc. But again, there's a very, very small amount of traces of a lot of human species in the fossil record and other primates. Yeah. So that doesn't really necessarily mean much. Like for example, we only found Homo flores recently enough in the grand scheme of things. So like that argument, while it does on face value, we go, oh yeah, fair enough. It actually, when you hold up to scrutiny, you're like, well, no, really, there are bunches of different subspecies and primates and all that we don't have much fossil records of. So like, or bones or anything. So, I think with Homo flores, the only reason they found it was because they went into a cave. So like all of the bones and stuff like that were well preserved in this cave.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, it wouldn't have been picked or.
I think that's where they found Homo flores, but. So who knows? Who knows? Like realistically, in my brain, I'm always going like, nah. But I would always entertain the possibility because, to be quite honest with you, maybe there was something weird at one point in time that is only recently extinct. And if you were to talk to all the Bigfoot lads in America that are like flesh and blood dudes, like they wouldn't even, like the way we're talking now about it, they'd be like, no, you're wrong. Like there is Bigfoot out there. And you're like, all right.
I mean, the thing, it's similar to ghosts and UFOs and all the rest of it, is that like there's so many sightings that it would stand to reason, even if you start to think, all right, well, these lads are bullshit and this is misidentification, blah, blah, blah. So many sightings, it seems like there might be something there. It would lend a certain amount of, not evidence, but it would point you in that direction. Similar to the UFO stuff, like now UFOs are like, oh yeah, that's been happening for years. And it's all the stuff that people were sort of saying, yeah, you're all mental. But then in the last couple of years, it's like, oh no, that's all true.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of talking points with UFOs now that would have been basically science fiction 15 years ago.
You got to think as well, like we always had planes with all these sensors and scanners and blah, blah, blah. And it was only when that technology got upgraded that all of a sudden it was almost like our eyes opened and we could see these actual strange crafts. And if you think about being in a forest, it's so dense, like the technology doesn't really exist to try and find these things. Well, I mean, you can use thermal vision and all the rest of it, but again, it's not aces, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean? So
we have to do one thing we should do at some point for the YouTube is actually watch and react to some of the Bigfoot footage.
I'd love to do that. Yeah, those 10 that we've seen before or whatever. Yeah, because one of those
that ridge one.
The ridge one is terrifying. The ridge one freaks me out. That really freaks me out. But there's one that looks exactly like a gorilla.
Yeah.
Like, and you're kind of looking,
that's right. Yeah.
This seems totally real.
Yeah.
And is it a gorilla? You know? The thing with those that's hard is that because you don't know the context, and so many of them are just 2 minutes, and then a lad going, and running away. It's like those ones where you see Bigfoot and then someone freaks out and runs away, I always feel like are always wrong. Yeah. They're always fake, you know.
That ridge one, I can't remember the name of that ridge.
It's like diamond, not really ridge, it's something like that. Like it's some sort of gem or something.
That one, like the thing that's really weird about that one for me is that it was filmed with like a bunch of people around. Yeah,
it's like a camping group, isn't it? Like
it's like scouts or something.
Yeah.
And like either they're in on it and they're really good actors, or they're not in on it and they like hired someone to do it. But that right there is video evidence of like probably 8 people all seeing something really strange up on a ridge that like does not look human at all.
It's that zoom.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like any other animal. Because we can see what we're saying, like this looks like a gorilla for sure. That doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
It's built like, it looks like, if it was a human, it would have to be like an 8 foot tall.
But do you know that it actually looks like, it's funny speaking about monkeys at the start of the episode, it looks like a giant macaque.
Yeah,
just
something like that.
Build, like the arms are so long.
Yeah, so long. It's like a Slender Man almost, except like bigger.
Like, and like I think that's why it's scary, because it's like...
And it looks like it's moving like down a ridge, and it looks like really good. And to the best of my knowledge, or at least at the time of when I put together the notes on the Bigfoot, that was from like best Bigfoot sightings episode, something like that. But
it's a really old episode.
If you search Bigfoot sightings, modern sightings, I think it might be. If you search that episode, you'll find us talking about it. But that whole thing, to the best of my knowledge, was never disproven. There was never any... I think the guy that filmed it is actually dead now, and I think he never at any point, and as well as to the best of my knowledge, he was never a dude who was like, I'm going to go to all these conventions with my tape.
Capitalize off it,
yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it was nearly lost. If it's the right video I'm thinking of, I think it was like one of those things that was kind of just uploaded and forgotten about. So this is a really interesting sight in that one.
It's like of all those ones that we saw, obviously the one where it clearly looks like a silverback or something is a great sight as well. You can't really make it out. But that one definitely, it has that certain je ne sais quoi. It's like it stays with you. Like that stayed with me for a while afterwards.
The shitty footage, like the way it looks.
Yeah.
And now, like, to be fair, I say shitty footage, it's not deliberately shitty. It's like literally that era camcorder.
Kind of early 2000s.
Yeah, it was like, doing its best as it could. But that was a very strange clip. And again, I think it was one of those ones that was just uploaded kind of on a whim. And I mean, that's about it. We'll go for a little 10 minutes, sir. We're at the end of the episode, so we'll talk about that weekly segment, our news. I don't have much news this week, Eamon. I'm still watching From.
Yeah, that's right. You milled a good bit into season 2, right?
Yeah, still very good. If anyone's watching it and they haven't watched Lost and they enjoy From, they should probably watch Lost.
Go watch Lost, yeah.
Because it's very similar.
Yeah, the beats are all the exact same.
Very similar.
The beats are all the same.
Which is fine. Like, I love Lost, so I'm happy.
It's one of the 3 guys that made Lost.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure which one. There was Damon Lindelof, J.J. Abrams, and some other guy, and I assume he's the some other guy that's made this.
So no, I'm really enjoying that. That's been fun. Still playing Silent Hill 2.
How far are you on that now?
I bet Pyramid Head.
For the first time,
and I'm moving on. I met, what's her name, the woman in the jacket.
Maria.
Yeah, Maria. And me and Maria are on our way to wherever you go together.
Is it the lake you wind up at?
I think.
See, the new, I cleared the original game, but the new one has a load of padding built in, like 10, 12 hours more.
Someone summed it up very well, where it's like legitimately hard to view. Like it's actually, your eyes get tired because
With
it's such
the mist.
No, it's just such a bleak environment.
Oh yeah.
So like it's so oppressive.
It's grim.
That like it's actually tough to get through.
Yeah.
Like it's like a head fuck. You're like, fucking hell, do I have to go and play this now? It's almost like a chore, but it's a great game.
Yeah, I remember
it's a chore because it's so bleak.
We were talking about it before because I haven't played the remake. I'm trying not to buy any more games. I have a load that I have to clear. But I remember being in the prison part. I don't know if you've cleared that bit yet in the game. No. So I remember being in the prison part of the original, and a friend of mine had given me a lend of it in school. We were like, 16 or whatever. And I just remember being like, I was getting further, and because it's a tricky, puzzly game, you feel good when you do progress a little bit. But there's also a part of me that was just like, this is like, I just felt sad playing it,
It's bleak, like
so bleak, like
which is
so
good,
miserable.
like that's a testament to its art. That as a piece of art, it evokes a feeling in you.
Have you ever seen Jacob's Ladder, the game that Silent Hill is based on?
No.
It's worth watching. It's about I think it was about a Vietnam vet, and he basically just starts having what you might say is elements of a schizophrenic break or whatever. But a lot of the imagery and some of the kind of not the people exact. There's people like locked in chambers above you, above him rather, scurrying around. But it's Silent Hill has taken a lot of its inspiration from Jacob's Ladder.
Maybe now back in the day I could have seen. I must look it up. Jacob's Ladder sounds super familiar, but
yeah, I think everyone's heard of it. I when I watched it, I realized I had never seen it before. Watched it maybe 10 years ago or something, but it's worth checking out.
It's very good, very oppressive. I picked up I pre-ordered, there's for our listeners that are into video games, there's a console coming out called the Analog 64. Basically Analog are a company that they're re-releasing. They're basically making games consoles in the modern day of older ones. So like they did the Analog Pocket, which was a Game Boy sort of, but it was a Game Boy with a better screen. It could play kind of more games, and it was just a more flexible system. So they're doing the same with the N64. So N64 full compatibility with the old controllers, compatibility with the old carts, and also I suppose the ability to jailbreak it and load it.
I'm sure you can put in a memory card.
But it will output at 4K. So
nice one, yeah. So it's going to be nice and smooth.
Outputs at 4K, and it also has built-in CRT filters and things like that.
That's cool, yeah.
So
because there's some great 64 games that were
missed. It was neck and neck with the PS for me. It was kind of when I look back, a lot of those N64 games like hooked me a bit more than some of the PS games at the time, just because it's always the Nintendo thing, right? They're a bit more gimmicky. They have a bit more
stuff is always.
Well, there's just like these little hooks that they'll get into where you're like, oh, this is like, and even like games like Blast Core, like I used to play the shit out of that. That was like Rockstar's one of their first games.
Really, yeah.
Well, it would have been in tandem with GTA, but it was their first 3D game, I want to say, maybe Rockstar Blast Core, and that was great. That was a brilliant game. And yeah, Jet Force Gemini, all of those great games.
N64 has one of the strangest beat 'em or fighting games. Yeah. Fighter's Destiny, which is a bizarre points based fighting game. It's worth checking out. There's ringouts and stuff in it as well.
Don't think I've even heard of it.
I'd say if you can get a card, it probably goes for decent enough money. But I remember playing a buddy of mine used to have the N64 and playing Fighter's Destiny one day, and
nice.
Yeah, it's good crack.
Anything new with you?
reading a book called Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay.
Oh yeah.
Tremblay. Really interesting. About halfway through it, and what I gather so far is these people, when they were in their early 20s, wrote a script to a horror movie about the thin kid who 3 other teenagers lock in a room and make him wear this weird mask,
right,
and sort of semi-torture him, and the mask begins to like grow into his body and stuff.
All right.
That's where I am now. But basically it's about the guy. Now it's maybe 30 years past then. So they made the script, they made the movie, but never released it. But it's found this weird cult following online, and they're trying to remake this movie, or to make it for the first time, I suppose. And it's just him kind of going between the past and the present, and then it actually puts you into the script itself. So it does this really cool thing where it's just constantly bouncing around, but drives forward at a really nice pace, well written. And you're kind of intrigued to find out what's going to happen at the end. So enjoying that. And then game-wise, PlayStation 5 gathering dust. Steam Deck is in full swing, and I'm playing a lot of Dying Light at the minute.
Yeah.
A zombie kind of open world game. It's just, you lose hours just doing nothing. Like,
yeah, the lads used to love that game, Dying Light. It's one of them games I think that if you get into it, you're into it.
It was like, yeah, like I have Yakuza 7 as well that I wanted to play, and I played the first maybe level of that. And there's loads of other little games, you know, you'll jump in. But every time I turn on, I'm just like, yeah, I'm playing Dying Light for a while.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. There's something it seems real honest to God kind of thing. There's some weird zombie types, but even just going around and getting out of the way of zombies, and then you're trying to loot, and all of a sudden something hits you out of nowhere. But there's a lot of little bonuses and buffs you can put on yourself. So I'm not in a place where I'm really good at getting around the place yet, but it's still like, it's a fun, just parkour elements to it as well.
Yeah, no, looks good. I've got Magdalena Bay gig this weekend.
That's right, yeah.
Looking forward to that, actually. That should be good. Back up in the big smoke for that, up in Dublin. What a time to be alive. You in Dublin this weekend, no?
I am going to be up either not the weekend, but I think Thursday or Friday. When's your gig on?
Saturday. So you'll be back down, will you?
I'll be gone.
Yeah. Well, look, sure. We'll leave it there then, folks. Quick reminder, if you're on YouTube, do subscribe. We're actually really close. We got partnered last week, but there's 2 stages to being partnered. So we need basically like another 100 subs, which should be easily done. So if anyone's still listening at this point in time and you haven't subscribed, head on over to YouTube, type in Monster Fuzz Podcast, and just drop a subscription. It really does help.
If 100 of you do it, that would be great for us.
Easy peasy.
So please just do it.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I've been Rob.
Amen.
Monster Fuzz over and out.